As much as we all like to rip on men, this is time to take some accountability.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Where do we begin? We're going to start with Shannon here with your notes. Shannon, you previously stated that you will not date somebody who makes less than 7 figures. Has that changed at all?
I said 7 figures.
Yeah, you said you only date 6 to 7 figure, or what? Six or 7. Okay, fair. Figure earning men, and you'd love to discuss your experiences.
Sure.
I think I know why she's laughing there in the corner. 7 figures might be a little bit out of your range.
So.
Oh, were you laughing? Oh, okay.
I think she sneezed.
Oh, it was a sneeze. Oh, okay. I thought it was like a.
It was a laugh.
It might have been a laugh.
All right.
I'm going with laugh.
We can talk about it.
Go ahead.
So yeah, we talked about that in our previous show that I was on, that I did previously date men who made 6 or have 6 to 7 figures. However, my current relationship that I'm in, it's a little complicated in regards to that. However, I have negotiated for myself that sort of want in a partner because he brings so much else to the table.
So, translation, she was humbled and had to settle.
Like what?
Well, we have a lot in common. We have a lot in common. Like I mentioned, we're both Jewish, so we have religion in common. I mean, we're both not super religious, but we do have where we grew up celebrating the same holidays and having similar traditions and stuff like that.
But you don't go to temple, any of that?
Yeah, we just have very similar like wants for our future and stuff like that.
So what's he making?
So he does a few different things as well for income. I don't know his exacts of what he's making. But he has a lot of different investments. So.
Do you make more than he does?
At the moment, I think I might, actually. It depends on the month and what we're doing. But some months I probably do make more. But he, in the grand scheme of things, has more resources and things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So you don't know how much your person you're dating makes?
Well, he doesn't have like a standard job. He's more like a gig economy type with his work. Like he does video editing and he'll do stuff in the arts for film and stuff like that. But he also just started his own business with my help because I run my own businesses, a few of them. So he's starting a photo booth company. So that's kind of new, but he did have some help from his family in starting that up. So that's where it's a little complicated.
What's the complication?
Well, like his specific like income, it's like he's maybe not making money yet from the actual business, but he has like family income, resources, things like that.
So you definitely will date outside of a 6 or 7 figure bracket.
I mean, it depends on the person. I normally, before meeting him, would have probably not been that open to it just because of my previous experiences with men who've brought in that type of income and just being kind of comfortable with like upper middle class life. But like I was saying, he has so much that he like brings to the table and we really get along. And yeah, he's opened me up to doing that.
Is he older or younger?
He's older. He's about 10 years older.
Interesting. He's 10 years older and doesn't make that 6 to 7 figures she was requesting on the last show. Something must have happened in between that last time she was on here and now. Something really must have humbled her.
Gotcha. Okay.
But before him, my past 2 relationships had more income coming in from like working and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Now, did you do a lot of content creation, right?
Yeah.
So did you meet this person because they were doing like clips for you or something like that?
No, we met on Bumble. We met on a dating app.
Oh, okay.
As far as disagreements with the show, you said you had a lot. But you can't pinpoint all
I
of
can't
it.
pinpoint it because I just have a really bad memory.
Oh
Like I can't remember.
Okay, so you said probably his opinions on body count. What are my opinions on body count?
Well, I can't remember, but I think it's just like the fact that it matters, I guess. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
What's your body
Well, it clearly does because you are bothered by the question.
count?
2.
Okay. So I guess why does it not matter?
If you're looking for someone with a low body count, then look in that dating pool.
Let me ask something different too. If you count like BJs, fingerings, all that stuff, does your body count change?
Goes up by like 1.
Okay, so it does change.
I wouldn't add it.
Well,
I
I
would
mean,
include
I
that
don't-
in the body count.
Well, I'm just curious. Like, is the criteria for body count just penetrative sex?
No, because I think that rules out a lot of
Yeah, because then
non-heterosexual
like homosexual women, that wouldn't be a body count then, right?
This is a good
Well,
point.
I think you would have a separate category, but for the heterosexual body count, I think strictly would refer to intercourse.
So if a chick was like, Brian, I'm a virgin, but I sucked 100 dicks, that would be like,
You know she'd be really good at it.
That's a high body count in my books.
I mean, like, for example, Andrew, I wouldn't say a woman whose body count is 0, but she's given 100 BJs is nearly as desirable or the same as a woman who has a body count of 0 and is also given 0 BJs.
so okay, so hang on.
But I
What
wouldn't
if-
categorize it as like as a body.
But what if she's only had one body, right? Given 0 BJs or anything, and the other one has 0 bodies, but it's given 100 BJs. Which one would you select for?
The one with one body.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
then,
So you
you see what
okay,
I'm saying? So it seems like
Yeah,
you
sure.
do categorize it as at least on par or something close to on par with it.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say like, okay, a woman who's had 3 bodies, but it was group sex
Yeah.
could be arguably worse than a woman who has
3 individual
like
partners.
or even like 4 or
Yeah.
5 like individual bodies, but they were like long-term.
because of the nature of the act, right?
Right.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that. But I just think that like if a dude, if he like finishes in a chick's mouth, like I'm just gonna count that as the same thing, dude.
Me too. I'd rather take the one body over the girl that gave 100 blowjobs. Think about it.
I just count it as the same thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, perhaps you could ask. It would be fair to ask a clarifying, like, okay, well, if your sex body count is this, what's your job body count? I guess, but I wouldn't call it a. Maybe we could throw it in there, but when I think of body
What would
count,
you go?
I've
The
always
blow
considered
count?
it-
What's the blow count?
What's the
Yeah.
blow count?
What's the blow count?
You know what? Maybe there's been
It's a new thing.
Yeah.
a lot of the girl claims
A lot of the
like
virgins
virgins
who have
like
a
2 or
high blow
3,
count.
but the oral sex count very high.
Yeah.
Shit, I need to start.
Like it's a DUI thing, right? It's like did you blow 6? Did you blow 7? Right for the DUI.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's a good. Well, you know what though? Here's the other thing that I had something on this is and maybe the women on the panel could weigh in on this too. So there's the body count, right? You could have a girl who has a body count of 1 and a body count of 1, but if you look at the specific guy that each of those women was with, that could have an impact. Like even if it's she has 1, she has 1. If they dealt with just like a filthy dude, like just a scumbag, like I'd almost like a fucking grimy dude. That's just an amplifier. Like if it was, I don't know, like who's a fucking grimy dude? Like Lil Xan or Tekashi 6ix9ine or like NLE Choppa or the Island Boys. Wait.
Yeah, I can see where he's going there, because if you were entertaining those guys and knowing what those guys do, I'm sorry, I don't think I would be interested also.
Mary, Google Island Boys.
Yeah.
Google images just so the girls here know what I'm talking about. If a girl's been with a grimy dude, that's like an amplifier. That's like 3x. You got to 3x the body.
I don't think it's just like who she slept with that one too. I think you're also
click on that
questioning
first one.
why she's with that person and if
Look
she's overcome her trauma and like if she's addicted to chaos.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm gay.
If a girl has had sex, if she's only had sex with one of the island boys, that's like 30 bodies. She might as well have a body count of 30. Yeah, it's a 30x amplifier. So that's another component of the body count discussion where if she fucked a grimy dude,
You got to count all of his.
Okay, so one more question.
do we have the photo really quick?
One more question about this. What about times? So if it's like a girl slept with 2 guys, but only once each, but slept with one guy 100 times.
I'm going with the one body 100 times because to me that's a normal relationship.
That's an interesting. Well, it could almost go both ways, couldn't it? Because on one hand, a one-night stand is kind of grimy.
Yeah, it's pretty grimy.
But then, whereas the other one, you would say, well, it was like a long-term committed monogamous relationship. But then, yeah, shit.
Was it
I don't know. That's
You got to take the long-term monogamous relationship. You said it yourself. One night stands says a lot about the girl.
I would frame. You know what? Here's how I would frame this. Right.
Okay.
And there's probably variations based on like if you start going more, if there's like more. So it'd be something like this. If a girl has one body and she slept with the guy one time versus she had a boyfriend and she slept with him 1,000 times. Honestly, I would prefer the girl who just slept with the guy one time.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. And then I'm number 2. Yeah.
Okay, but what if it's 3?
3.
One time.
Yeah, 3 one time.
And then a chick with one guy.
With one guy, but like
100
1,000 times.
Yeah.
Really, even if it was a long-term relationship,
In
she's
that
being
case-
monogamous and safe. You're just like, no thanks.
In that
I want
case,
the one night.
No, I'm not
No,
saying.
no.
Hold on, I'm not saying I
he's not
wouldn't
saying
date.
that.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying I wouldn't date her. I'm just saying what would be more preferable.
Yeah.
So the I'm not excluding the one in the long-term relationship in the 1v1 example he gave, but so you're saying 3 one-night stands versus 1. I'd pick the 1 in that situation.
Me too.
I'd pick the 1 in that situation.
Yeah, because 3 one-night stands, that's a red flag.
Me too.
But if it's like equal for equal, but then if it starts getting, okay, how about this, Andrew, to you? 10 one-night stands or 10 long-term relationships where they had sex 100 times each. So
How do you know they
you
had
can't
sex
really
many
have.
times?
Can you have 10 long-term relationships?
say she's like 35 and she's had, sure.
Nah, at that point, I would take the 10 one-night stands if I had
10
to choose
one-night
between
stands,
it.
interesting.
Because if you're in a long-term relationship that's failed 9 times, that's a problem, right? That's a bigger red flag than.
Then just have. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. 10 failed long-term relationships. Seems like you're bad at dating.
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, the other one's not great either.
No, it's not great either.
Neither.
Yeah. Well, you got to push the button, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the body count trolley problem.
This is the.
Oh God.
Don't they?
Yeah, if a girl was a virgin but fucked one of these guys, I'm sorry, that's 30x amplifier.
Well, I think it's also because they're from Florida.
It could Florida, man. But yeah,
Already like.
I mean, chat. Do you agree? Like, if a girl has sex with a grimy dude, it's like a amplifier. It's like an X. It's a multiplier.
I feel like this should apply to guys too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you are sticking to something and something nasty, and you're like, that counts.
What would be the? I wonder who's like a grimy chick.
Oh, we got plenty.
Who's a grimy?
Name
girl?
one.
There's a lot, right?
I don't know. Oh, I don't
The
know.
ones that I think are bad though probably aren't.
Come on.
that bad.
Who?
Oh, I mean, we could use her example. Like, if you knew a guy had. Well, it's different though, because girls, like. Okay, do you guys know who Lily Phillips is?
Yes.
Bonnie Blue?
Yes.
Okay, they
I keep up.
She does. Yeah.
I'm
I
trying
know.
to-
Sorry, I'm
who's
like getting
like
back
a-
to my seat.
That's pretty grimy. But that's over the top, though. It's like she's worse than the Island Boys would be the other way.
Brooke Candy is like an island boy, but as a woman.
Well, there you go.
I'm not sure.
I get that picture in my head.
I'm not sure who that is.
I don't think there's anybody worse than the Island Boys. The last thing I heard about those guys, they were doing some kind of incest on OnlyFans. And nothing worse than that.
All right. Let's see here. But so going back to you, what were the disagreements, I guess?
Like I said, I can't pinpoint them.
You say, but pinpoint.
Bro,
Go ahead, pinpoint. What do you mean pinpoint? Go ahead, body count. So, okay, of what you just heard, and we were talking about grimy, women sleeping with grimy dudes. No pushback there.
No. The Island Boys are disgusting. They're disgusting.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they did OnlyFans together too, or had something on Twitter. They did that. That was disgusting.
Yeah.
I saw like a video. No. That was absolutely disgusting.
But like if a girl tells me that she like slept with a famous rapper, I'm just like, that's a 30x multiplier on the body count.
But what if it's famous? What if it's famous rock star?
Oh.
Also bad.
Yeah, but which
like
one's worse? Which one's worse to you though?
Gene Simmons, rock stars actually have talent, so I'm gonna have to say, it's although is that worse?
So women don't have the same intuitive disgust about it that men do. That's the interesting part.
You think?
Same
well, I know so.
disgust?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is
In what way?
Yeah. So, paternity tests. Those are pretty recent inventions, right?
Yeah.
How would men assure paternity before a paternity test?
The way that they looked when the baby came out.
How else? What would be the best way to assure that the child was yours?
Make sure that you're the only one having sex.
Right,
with
you're the
her.
only one. Right? So, for the assurance of reproduction, for the purposes of survival, right? It makes sense why men have this kind of like revolt carriage to women with multiple men. They want to assure that that's their offspring. If they can't assure that it's the offspring, it also is detrimental to the mother because then they can just deny it, right? It's not mine. You slept with multiple men. So that's it. And that's why that revolt or disgust is there for men. It's not
You don't think that
there
that's
for
societal in there too?
What do you mean?
I don't know if there's.
This is just what you find socially when you give different polls and different questions between the sexes.
Correct.
It's not that women don't care about it. I'm not saying that, right? And some women really care about it. Just that they seem to care about it less than men care about it with them.
Or a different reason why. Like for women, it'd be protection or safety, because if you have someone that's
it's not
around a lot,
revulsion.
right? We might. So if you use that terminology with someone, a guy might go revolted. A woman, we might forgive more or something, or we might look at a different angle.
Well, that would tell me that it's just not as prominent of a deal breaker as it is for men.
Or if you just did how you ask, because I do think that there's women that are going to be like, I don't want a guy that's sleeping around too much because I don't want to catch something, or I don't want to.
Yeah, but
whatever.
I'll show you a big distinct difference that I think will maybe change your view on this. So, if you tell a guy, well, there's a woman and she's 28, 29 years old, right, and she's still a virgin, they think, well, that's a pretty good catch, right? 28, 29. But the flip side is that women will often reject men at 28, 29 who are virgins because they think, what the fuck is wrong with this guy that no woman wants him? So that happens often to men.
I don't know. I've seen it in coaching. It just depends on different societies. And then also I have a lot of clients that are 30s and 40s who are virgins.
Mostly men though, right?
Just
as far as for being a virgin, if the guy's insecure about being a virgin, he'll naturally go towards and by accident date women who will say something like that, right? But the more he heals from that insecurity, the more that all of a sudden he's naturally around people that really don't care. But as far as societal, we've noticed that certain countries don't necessarily consider body count or care, like Spain, for instance. Women are very much so more sexually dominant there. They even go half on the bill or pay the bill is usually that kind of. So some of it's societal, some of it's very primal, of course. Like you want to make sure that you're procreating, that your seed that's yours. So of course there's something to it on that one. So I think it's also how you phrase the question to someone.
All right, let's do a really.
I don't know if it would be how you phrase What do you mean how you phrase the question?
If you ask a woman, hey, would you care if you were dating a guy and he was sleeping around with a whole bunch of women, you know, when while you guys were in a relationship? I'm sure she's going to have like a repulse factor in that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
But that's not really what you would ask, right? So what the question determines, like, if you're asking previous partners, right? So I think if you were to keep all things equal, right, and you were to say to any number of different women, there's a man here who has a 100 body count, right, versus there's a woman here to the same equal amount of men who has a 100 body count, that the men would be far more revolted by that than the women. Sure.
And I'm just saying with that one, sometimes we notice that has a little bit to do with society, like in Spain compared to here, for instance. But yes, you have that for sure.
I'm picking up on a lot of words. Like you said, primal. I think you said something about like when you're selecting a mate to procreate and everything. Like for me, body count and like putting value on anybody, male, female, whatever, based on who they've touched or not touched. Like we're making equations and trying to figure this shit out. But like, at the end of it, like we're not in BC era. We don't have to pick mates on how much they said.
Because
you can go get pregnant by yourself as a woman without a man even being involved. So
y'all smoking crack. Something is wrong with you people.
What is she talking about? Why did they say that? Who told them that? And when was it?
Just feel like we're at this.
Well, no, man, you definitely can't get pregnant without a man being involved.
Well, you got to have some sperm somewhere.
Right.
I guess what I mean is without intercourse or without worrying about how many persons that man or woman have been with. I just think that putting value on a person because of body count is so not 2025.
Okay.
Because like we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
If you're a liberal woman, you can think like that. But men are going to be men, and we just don't think that way. We find it disgusting.
But it's still part of a survival mechanism. So
for who? For men or heterosexual men or everybody?
Well, I'll explain it.
Okay.
So human beings are pattern recognition machines. That's how we live our lives.
Patterns change. But keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
How do you know they change?
That's evolution, sir.
Right. So you know patterns change because they don't fit the pattern that you're used to.
Yeah.
That's how, right?
Pretty much,
that would be the way. So if you're a pattern recognition machine and you notice a pattern between people who do this type of behavior, right? This is what I see with them. People who do this type of behavior, this is what I see with them. People, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reason that's ingrained inside of you to make those risk calculations is so that you can survive and thrive long term. And every human being does this, like all of them.
In ways, I get it. Yeah. But, I just feel like as society advances, some of our mindset has to advance and change too. Because like we're not out here catching AIDS and STDs as much as we used to. Because
we are.
Gotcha, bitch.
Actually, STDs like herpes and HIV, gonorrhea are on the rise in major cities. So
those
STDs are at almost an all-time high, I believe. Like they're
herpes,
increasing.
HPV.
They're increasing. Yeah. In fact, STDs we almost got rid of.
Yeah,
are now back with a bang.
That's interesting. So that to me that says that more. I may be wrong. This is just like a personal opinion. Like maybe if STDs are kind of on a rise or not going down. It seems like promiscuity is in a way because people who have STDs are obviously still having sex.
Nasty bitch.
And having sex. So some consider it a very important thing.
And what's her point? They're getting diseases. That's nature's way of telling you that you're doing it the wrong way.
Reasons though, right? Like it may be, there could be trends you can point to that promiscuity is going down actually, but what is going up is things like sex work and the amount of people who are involved in sex work.
Well, that is
a place where you would grab a lot of STDs and get them out to the general public, right? Your risk assessment for that is way, way, way higher. So if that's the case, you wouldn't actually need general societal promiscuity to go up, just a small portion of the society to engage in high-risk behavior and then move it out. That's what happened with HIV, for instance. Yeah. Right? Same thing. It was a small subset of the population, but they were heavily promiscuous. That moved out to the other subsets of the population.
Yeah,
in a way, yeah.
I think it's also because there's a lack of sexual education in schools now.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
No, there's not.
Well, where I'm from, I took a sex ed class 4th grade just because of puberty, and I had one semester of one in 7th grade, but my high school never taught it. This middle schools I used to go to, they don't teach it anymore. I don't know anyone who's younger than me who gets taught sex ed anymore.
My son is 17 and he had no idea what that was. He goes to a local high school and he's like, no one's teaching them condoms and STDs.
That's part of the general curriculum for most schools.
It definitely should be. I think it's so...
I think it's the
areas.
It's the area.
But also, it's not like, I've never really bought this. There's not enough sexual education in schools. There was a huge primary campaign run on that throughout the 90s and in the early 2000s, and it didn't do anything. Nothing. And here's the thing, convincing me that the average 13 to 15-year-old doesn't know anything about sex and modernity is fucking insane.
You're going to learn. You're going to learn. You can Google things now. I with sex education and everything, it's like, you're not going to really understand a lot of it until you experience it or make the mistakes, and you won't even hear it anyway. A lot of it too, like trauma has a lot to do with whether or not you're escaping in sex, and that's at any age. So, you can tell someone all day long, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, but they're gonna.
I think trauma's a cope. I think that. So here's what I think. I think that a lot of women utilize the trauma excuse for their promiscuous past when they really just wanted to get dicked down by a stud, and what they do is they cope about it, and they're like, no, see, the reason that I went down and got dicked down by so many studs is because my trauma that happened when I was younger. This bad thing happened to me, and that's what made it so that all these handsome men just had to fuck me, right? And
maybe
what he's saying is actually the truth. They use that word trauma to remove accountability of their past mistakes. For instance, the whole hoeing thing. They'll say trauma instead of saying that they were just promiscuous. They just don't want to look bad. That's all.
The older ones are owning it.
So I hear that and I think to myself, maybe not. Maybe it's not the fact that you were traumatized, but the fact that you just wanted to have sex with a lot of good-looking guys.
I mean that, absolutely.
So,
that can be healing. That can be healing in ways.
Yeah.
I think so that, like, if a guy said, like, oh, I just had a really bad breakup and she really broke my heart, and, like, oh, I'm back on the streets, the boys will be like, yeah, get back on the streets, but, like, when women do that, like you said, it's kind of, were you really hurt? Like, is that really a trauma response, or are you just being wild?
What
coping.
It is. Yeah, it's coping. What it is
coping.
They're doing this. They're going, look, my dating chances drastically go down because I've slept with and now the numbers are fucking astronomical, like 50, 60, 70 guys, right? I've slept with that many guys. When people realize that.
60, 70 chicks.
Bop, boom, pow.
I mean, dudes.
Boy, you got me, Brian. So
clip it and shift.
That's what they'll say, right?
Yeah.
And so if they do, right, their chances for having like the kind of more high status man, especially in their 30s, going to greatly decrease in comparison to women who haven't. So if that's the case, like, they have every reason to make an excuse to cope about it, to be like, no, it's not my fault. It was some trauma that I had that got treated, this type of thing.
Yes and no. It's if you're still engaging in that behavior. So if there's a quality man who's healed and he's ready for marriage and he's dating a woman who obviously you can tell if someone still like doesn't love themselves and they're acting out and they're seeking love and validation from other men, then sure. But
I don't
if someone's
think men get healed. I think they get tired.
You can do it.
Yeah, I think they get tired.
We do NLP and hypnotherapy with my guys.
Hypnotherapy's bullshit.
You don't think sex?
There's a little bit. All it is hypnotherapy.
Bullshit.
All it is that you go in and you can rewire, reframe some memories so that you're not as freaking loaded by them.
It's the least scientific form of especially any sort of hypnosis.
But it's kind of fun.
But the thing that's interesting about this is like, it's not that men are coping or get healed. They're not healed. They just get tired of it. So playing the field for men who can, right? It's fun for a little bit, and they just get sick of it. And it's not that they're healed from shit. They weren't traumatized, right? They're like, what are they traumatized from? Oh, I had sex with a bunch of beautiful women. Oh my God, the trauma. Oh, the trauma.
No, well, that's not where trauma comes from.
Of course they're not traumatized.
That's not trauma.
Right? They're not traumatized by it all. They're sick of it, right? And the same thing with women. They do get, in some ways, traumatized by women, but mostly it's just they're sick of women's bullshit, right?
Well, sure, but that's not trauma.
Well, what is trauma for them?
Trauma is when you're like, if you're getting actually abused, beaten, hurt. Like I've had clients that were like, for men, actually dated narcissistic women, which is surprising. not surprising for me, but a lot of people don't realize that men can be in abusive relationships.
Of course.
Right? They're psychologically abused, physically abused.
Yeah, and they can hold those scars over. They can go through terrible divorces.
But no, dating a bunch of women in trauma. Yeah, but I'm talking, when I talk trauma stuff, I mean that. I don't mean the superficial coping shit. I mean actual
but the amount of women who express that they've been traumatized, and then you find out what they've been traumatized by is just the same rigmarole shit that most every human being has to go through. I'm like, that's not trauma.
Yeah, that's my problem with the use of the word trauma. They'll just use it for any minor thing, and then the word just loses all meaning for me.
Yeah,
that's cope.
Because right now with you see like influencers right now, I have such a grip with this one. They take the word trauma, or they take the word narcissist, they take the word and they overuse it to the point where when you are actually having that or having trauma or having abuse, it's like it's gotten so blown out of proportion that the people who actually do need help or do actually have it.
Actual narcissists are rare, and so what's happened is that
just
every woman on planet Earth thinks she's a psychologist. I have no idea why, but they read something online about narcissistic tendencies and traits and don't realize how common the miscalculation between confidence and narcissism is. Oh, that was a confident man who was assertive and aggressive in his boundaries. I don't like that, so he's a fucking narcissist. It's like, no, that's
one of the most annoying things I see on the daily now.
It's not a narcissist.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's a very common female cope.
Yeah, I think that'll change when we have more females talking to other females about that one. Like, no, you can't say that, Becky.
How would that be the case when like the whole field of psychology is completely inundated with women? It's like saturated with them, and they mostly treat women. Men don't usually seek psychological help because they have the boys. They go out with the boys. They grab the drinks, right? They do that stuff. They're not grabbing many female coaches either. They're grabbing their buddies. They're grabbing their pals. They're grabbing their groups.
Maybe they might not tell you.
No, most men are not. Most men by the numbers.
There's a lot.
Just like most men by the numbers.
Boot camps all over the world.
Sure, with men.
With men.
Right? What I'm saying is that they're not going to female psychologists. They're not even really going to.
No, but that's why I'm saying I'm not a psychologist. They have that like nice little, I'm a coach. So for me, if they're coming to me, it feels a little bit less like, oh, I'm not going to someone because I'm messed up. I'm not going to a psychologist. Although I do encourage it. I think talk therapy doesn't help with certain things, but it's great to talk things out. But there's different modalities of like CBT or EMDR or, whatever it is. So yeah.
I think most women seek out psychological assistance from psychologists so that they can learn various forms of manipulation in order to manipulate whoever it is they're trying to manipulate, and they want the assistance from somebody who's a professional at it.
Yeah, weaponizing. So it's weaponizing therapy talk, right? We have men that do that, but anyone who's traumatized, who's not really, or an a-hole or whatever, who's not willing to take a hard look at themselves. But they're going to go in there. They're going to use that.
I look at the numbers though, and I look at the numbers of women who seek psychologists versus men. It's overwhelmingly women.
Yeah,
it's overwhelmingly women in the field. So
sure,
can you always make the case? Oh, the other sex also engages in that. It's like, yeah, but to the degree of it, it's not even close.
Yeah, unless they Google it. You can Google all day long and not have to go to someone and spend money and $300 a pop to go to a psychologist to learn the jargon. You could just Google it online.
It's true.
It's everywhere on Instagram. You know it.
Well, psychology is a study of the mind, right? I've never even I don't consider it even scientific. I never have. It has scientific elements for data gathering and things like this, but it's not itself a science. That's why it's considered a soft science.
Soft science, yeah.
I would just consider it not science.
They learn more and more. It's nice that it grows. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was in psychology courses, and we thought back then that you only use 10% of your brain, and I mean that's what we learned back then. They didn't know, and there's so much more. It's just a growing
that's because
thing.
What happens is a sociological study will come out that has no reputations to it, has not been replicated, but because it's the most modern study, everyone will reference it as though it's gospel. Within 2 years, the reputation comes out, but what? Everybody inside their mind, they already have this bad information, right?
Right. Yeah.
They already have the bad information.
I mean,
I still hear people say we only use 10% of our brain.
Oh, you do?
I still hear people say that left-handed people are more creative. I still hear people say that people with blue eyes are generally taller. I see people say all sorts. I see people. Blue eyes. I see people say all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Right. That has been refuted, repudiated, completely decimated for years and years and years. But because it's allowed to permeate within the decade of reason that these people are in, they hear it, it sticks. They're not looking for reputations years later. That's the problem with psychology. Yeah. It's a complete building block of lies.
Essentially, it's the same system and building blocks of propaganda.
Psychology, but that's the thing, is that psychology isn't that building block of life. It's the fact that you can take a zoom out and look at the fact that that's a pattern. We talked about patterns earlier. Patterns do, I do agree, patterns actually repeat. It's what human behavior doesn't necessarily change. Our circumstances might, or the way things look might change, but there's a pattern to that. So over the years, every decade has some sort of bad information that gets, caught up with.
Yeah, but it's way worse in sociology and psychology. You're talking 60-70% of the studies suffer from the replication crisis. All science suffers from the replication crisis.
Right.
The hard sciences, very low. When you go back
like
to
chemistry.
when you go back to replicate a chemistry experiment,
sure,
really easy. You take this chemical, this chemical, this chemical, you put in the same conditions, right?
Yeah.
The human element is very confounding, especially when you're not studying the direct biological.
Yeah.
So they go out to replicate the sociological studies like 70%. In Canada, it's worse. Canada was worse, was like 80% plus. They couldn't replicate the studies if they got the same participants, the same scientists, and the same control conditions.
Yeah.
So it's like, why the fuck would I ever trust any science that's 80% wrong or 70% wrong or 60% wrong?
I don't know.
I agree. We put too much stock into psychology and therapists. Look what they did with the whole gender affirming care thing. Now people don't even know what a woman is.
Too, because I remember people were talking about Freud for a long time, and that guy was fucking nuts. I hated it.
Yeah, but wait a second. He made psychotherapy, and he did a lot of hypnotherapy.
He did. We took a lot of that, and then hopefully you grow. Hopefully you learn. The one thing that I like about it is like, hopefully you can take a mistake and learn from it and grow from it and do better. But I mean, there's some cool elements. Take what you like, discard the rest. And that's about it.
I think it goes back to control, because like what we were talking about with the body count thing, and even this, like, it's unpredictable. You can't quantify it. You can't hypnotize it. Like, we keep trying to put these calculable elements on dating and love, and like my mindset on it all is, it's not like, it doesn't matter how many people you've had sex with. It doesn't matter. I won't say your trauma, but like, we're trying to calculate the human experience, especially relationship wise, and it's incalculable. Like, you don't wake up and you say, I'm gonna eat eggs, and I'm gonna eat eggs every day for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna have a pizza, and I'm gonna be bad if I have pizza. Like, your genitals are not one-time use, because if that was the case, the first person you linked it with or had sex with, you would only be able to orgasm with them. You would only be able to procreate with them. Like, we have multi-use organs, but we try to make them single use or monogamous. And that's cool if you find that. But I just feel like, biologically speaking, we're not even biologically set up for
but
monogamy.
if you can do a thing, it doesn't mean you should do a thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
exactly. And also, we have STDs and diseases to show that we shouldn't be having sex with any and everybody.
And not only that, like, I think that you would even agree that not real, like, there's a lot of calculable risks that you intuitively know. Like, you've heard this advice from your parents, for instance, right? Don't date someone who treats you bad. Something simple, right?
Yeah, sure.
You'd be looking for patterns for bad treatment, right? So there's like no way around pattern recognition, especially when it comes to dating and things like this,
Especially
so that you
for
can
women.
mitigate risk.
Yeah.
You go,
We're
oh,
told, don't
you're
date the
treating
guy
me
who's
bad.
broke.
Don't be with the person who treats you bad, right?
Yeah, right?
That's calculating risk. So let's go perfect husband versus perfect wife. What does that look like?
Perfect husband versus perfect wife.
Yeah. So your perfect husband is what?
I think that's somebody who is a provider, not just for myself, but for the family, the household.
We got the provider.
Okay?
Sure.
The provider is somebody who is leading by example, somebody who's looking out for us to maybe correct us.
That would be
leading.
strong moral character, right?
Yes, strong moral character.
Strong moral character and provider. What next?
Somebody who provides some emotional support in that sense. I think because I also bring some financial to the table, but even if I didn't, obviously be able to understand me, to undergo, just like you were talking about earlier with the whole once a month, you're
out with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
A guy walks over, a rando, and he grabs your ass. Your husband got to knock that fucker out, right?
In my opinion,
he's got to, right?
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, he's got to.
So, but I think that comes with being the leader, the protector.
So it's not just a matter of provider, right? Protector in the home, but it's also a matter of protector outside of the home. Other people come
of myself and of our family.
Of course. So he's got to be strong and a little bit tough, right? He's got to be. So there's actually a little bit more criteria here, isn't there?
Okay.
What is he looking for? in you?
I don't
Uh-oh.
know what he's looking for.
You don't know what he's looking for.
No, what is he looking for me to just be?
I'm asking you, what is he looking for? What is this guy who's a great provider? He's fucking epic. A guy grabs your ass out in the club. He's going to knock him the fuck out. What's he get?
I mean, I would reciprocate as much as I can on every other level. I mean,
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
I can't beat up somebody.
No,
Yeah, but what can you do?
I'm not asking you to beat up somebody. What does
Yeah.
he get, which is similar to what you're getting?
Loyalty.
You expect loyalty from him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not something new you're bringing to the table.
Okay.
Him knocking a motherfucker out is something you can't do, right?
Okay.
So what
He's
is
a man,
what?
he's physically
yeah.
stronger.
So without the equalization,
Okay.
you say loyalty, you're going to get loyalty from a guy.
Maybe loyalty and brings in a lot of other things. We talked about being submissive or subservience. I know a lot of people take that as a negative, but it's like I'm not really sure. I've never really
Right. Not really sure.
I'm not really sure because, as you guys have said, it doesn't take a lot more. It doesn't. Men don't.
Oh,
look for
so
the
the
same thing.
standard is lower for men.
I'm not saying the standard is lower.
It sure sounds like you're saying
I'm not
that.
saying the standard is lower. I'm just saying I've never really thought about that because literally,
but men always think about that. That's what's so interesting.
I
Yeah.
don't think men always think about that.
Yeah, they actually do. They think about things almost starting in a transactional rate, right? Like, what do I get versus what you get?
Okay,
and then they move
maybe.
into what they'll settle for versus what they won't settle for, right? What you get is the privilege of saying, I've never really thought about that. Isn't that kind of like slightly problematic?
It's not, but
Serious?
personally,
It's not?
It's not only because personally, I'm not actively dating or searching for my ideal person. Have I thought about it? Maybe.
You've dated plenty, right?
I've dated, sure. I've dated.
It's problematic if you're trying to date people and you don't even know what the gender wants. I don't see how she does not see that.
And it
Sure.
still never crossed your mind.
I don't think it's Okay, we're not.
It still never crossed your mind.
It's not that it's never crossed my mind. I think it's just in a way like. So I'm gonna take it a couple steps back to where when I was married, I kind of had my role switched where I was the one financially providing. I was the one, my husband.
Like a good wife.
Like a good wife.
There's going to be times, occasionally, perhaps your husband's sick, perhaps he has problems.
I'm
things
saying
like
for
that.
the majority of my marriage, I was the one that did that. So
Why
I
though?
You chose that man and you chose to be in that position.
think roles because I actually don't want to get into the details of
Okay.
it. So, but
whatever the
regardless,
reason is, right?
My point is from my
you
perspective,
did choose that man though.
I did, but I think I felt years into it that there could have been forms of manipulation or masking.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. I'm saying.
Fair.
And when kids come into
I'll
the
just
equation,
grant it all. I'll just grant it all.
Okay.
But you move forward, right?
You
so
move
you're
forward.
moving forward. How could it be possible that you can tell me what your value is or the value of women are? But when I ask you the opposition, like, what is it that the man's getting on par? You're confused and don't know.
Because she doesn't have to.
Hang on. Let her answer.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Can you say that to me one more time?
Yeah. What were you confused about? You said, I'm confused. I'm not really sure.
I think because I've never been in a relationship, I haven't gone past a few dates. I know you don't like the word trauma, but maybe I was a little traumatized from my marriage that I don't really know what a strong person should look like in a maybe traditional, more conservative type of relationship, which is something I would like to seek based off of hearsay and other people's anecdotal kind of situations. But
It's so odd to me that she ended up marrying him anyways. Why would you do that if you know that he wasn't that guy?
I think that's why it's harder for me to say because I'm not sure.
Let's pretend that we take you out of your skin and we put you in a man's skin, right?
Okay.
So women supposedly are great at empathy. I've never thought so. I've always thought men were more empathetic, and I have great reasoning ability to demonstrate they're more empathetic, but I'm just going to leave it and assume for a second women are actually more empathetic. Just because you lead with empathy doesn't mean you're actually more empathetic, from my view. But here's what I would say. Let's take you. We're going to put you in a man's skin. You swipe across yourself at like 35. You're a 35-year-old man. You've been in the dating field, this and that.
Okay.
I look at you. What do I see?
I see.
Let's start with negatives.
Okay, negatives. Okay, you're really asking me to look at myself. So
Yeah, I'm really asking
Hold
you.
on, let me put myself out, right? Okay, if I'm a guy.
So hang on. Let me.
Yes.
Let's do this again. I want to make sure there's no confusion.
Okay.
You are supposing in your mind, hypothetically, you're a man tomorrow. You wake up. You have your same mind, everything else, and you're looking to date. You swipe across yourself. What are the negative things you see?
Will she be honest? Let's see.
I think the first thing is going to be age. What is this person doing on a dating app at her age?
What age is that?
I'm 38.
Okay.
So, but I'm not on dating
There's plenty of 40-year-olds on dating apps.
There are plenty of
So
them,
what are the
but-
negatives?
Okay, so I think for men that would be a negative. I feel like a lot of men look for younger women, so that would be one.
Okay.
I think depending on the person, I know you mentioned tattoos. That could be something. I got my tattoos with my.
You're a
husband.
man.
I am a man in
this
situation.
hypothetical.
Yes.
What do you see when you see the tattoos on the sleeves and the arms? Tell me what you see as a
I'm thinking rebel. I'm thinking fun. I'm thinking a good time.
man.
I don't know.
You don't know.
The reason why I'm telling you this is because, I'm looking, what type of tattoos does she have? Maybe the person that I'm looking for will be similar to me. I have anime tattoos on me. I have, you know what I mean? Like this is from video gaming. Maybe she's a little bit of a nerd. If I'm being observant. I don't like tattoos.
You got 7 fucking seconds that you're looking at these. Hang on. 7 seconds looking at this profile. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If that.
Okay.
So 3 seconds. What do I see? I'm you. What do I see?
Let me actually take this back. Because
All right,
you're
let's take
like,
it back.
let's look at the negatives. But if
Let's start. Hang on.
But if
we'll
I'm a
get to
guy-
all the positives.
No, I don't forget the positives.
I just want to see the negatives first.
Forget all the negatives.
No, fucking bullshit.
No.
Bullshit, Cope. Start with the negatives.
It's actually not a cope. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm looking as a guy going on a dating app.
Yeah.
They probably would see me as, oh, she's showing skin. Maybe the age I can put to the side.
Okay, age is put to the side.
So age, okay? So, she's showing skin.
What does the skin? Let's start. We're going to do, hang on. We're going to do one at a time.
Which can be seen as a negative.
What is
Why
the
I'm bringing it
skin? What do you think the skin is signifying to the guy?
Attention seeking and promiscuity.
I think she's, comfortable with showing herself a little bit. She's probably a little bit more outgoing. She's not going to be.
Does it signify promiscuity? Maybe.
I think for a majority of men, yes.
Okay, so
Because
we
it's
got that.
promiscuity.
What's next? What's the next negative?
I don't know.
That's it. Those are all the negatives.
I'm not
You
saying
show a
those
little
are-
bit of skin. That's it.
Well,
That's
if I
the
have-
only thing they see in the dating profile.
If I have 7 seconds, I'm seeing age, I'm seeing skin, I'm seeing tattoos. If you don't like the tattoos, maybe. I mean, I don't want to necessarily say, but maybe racially,
hang on.
not their preference.
Hang on, let's back up. I want
Sure.
to show you something
Sure.
that's interesting, and I think you'll agree.
Okay.
There's many videos of an infant dropping from a high altitude off of like a rail or something like that, and
Don't
a man
bring the
catching them,
Okay.
or even a woman catching them.
Okay.
Now, think about this. An infant falls off of like a 4-story balcony. You have how many seconds?
You just have to react.
Like that, right? Yeah. But all of the things that are processing in that microsecond is like, this kid's going to die. Here's what's going on. You can process so much information in a microsecond.
Okay.
But we can't do that with a dating app.
I just
hang on. We can do that with a dating
we spend
app.
less than 7 seconds on dating
Right.
apps,
So
I
if
think.
that is the case, right, and I can make a microcosm decision as to when to dive for that infant, processing all that information in a nanosecond, right, and catch it, you should be able to tell me what you see as the negative within that same nanosecond about yourself.
I guess so. I don't.
I have to agree. Because if I saw this girl at a distance with her tattoos and her skin showing like this, I'm thinking she's biker chick, Hell's Angels, maybe.
I told you the biggest thing that I think would be a negative, the biggest things, because it's like a quick thing, is the age and the showing of skin. Those are the biggest.
Tattoos, no?
I did mention tattoos in case someone doesn't.
So
like
that's the
tattoos.
third negative. Anything else?
It could be a negative.
Anything else?
I don't know. What
Now,
else.
if we pull that picture up, let's do this as an experiment. Brian, where are you? Pull that picture back up of the fisherman.
Okay.
I want to show you something interesting. We got 3 things from you.
Okay.
Right? Don't bullshit us.
Are we talking about looks?
You got 3 seconds to evaluate. Give me all the negatives and tell the truth. They'll see right through it if you don't. Tell us the truth. What do you see?
The only negatives that I can see, and I'll be honest, are the fact that he might be overweight.
Okay, he's overweight. What else?
That's it. Other than that, he's got a great smile. He has good energy. Yes, he's got a big ass fish. I've gone fishing. I know what that's about. Nice background, all mostly positives. The biggest thing is that he might be overweight. Not my type.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Let me see what it said on the thing. If I actually take the time to read it, because most guys won't read what's on the bio. If I'm not home, you can find me at the lake. There you go. So because he's single, he spends time on the lake fishing.
Okay.
All
right.
So
I think she disqualified him because he's a nice guy, and I think she's into bad boys.
did the chat see through that?
Sounds a bit. It
honest.
does sound a bit copish, but okay.
What do you mean when you say copish? I know you've mentioned that even earlier. I'm just trying to get an understanding.
So like cope is the idea that, you know that there's some type of problem, but you refuse to acknowledge it, so you give excuses for the problem. That's called cope, right?
Okay.
So
what would you say about him then?
There's more that you see about that. Oh man, I could give a laundry list.
In fact,
let me just make it even easier. I'll give a laundry list about me, right?
Okay.
I'm fucking old, right? I'm set in my ways. I got a fucking beer gut, right?
I mean, what do you?
I'm literally. Hang on. I'm literally fucking abrasive. I don't give a shit what most people think. But even just off of a picture, if I put my best self forward, right? It would still be something akin to like some interest that I had or some shit like that, and he would still look at it and be like, "Oh, he's old, right? Maybe his teeth are a little crooked. Maybe his eyebrow is a little too kirked. Whatever the fuck it is, there would be all kinds of things that you could associate with me just on a picture look that would disqualify me instantly, right? Now, you don't get to see the fact that I am extraordinarily charming and charismatic, but what you would see is just the picture image, right? And that's it. And there's no fucking way that all of that is not processing the same time you look at that guy with that fish. There's just no way.
I think if I'm looking at it in a split second and going, this guy is not my type, I'm not thinking about any
exactly.
of that. But I also don't.
It's intuitive, right?
It's sure. I'm not thinking all the
By
other
the way,
things.
this isn't a dunk on you.
No. And I'm not taking it that way.
That's what I call a chain reaction.
Manifest my own destiny. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The perfect recipe. May they remember me. My words will live on. I'm guided by your energy. Your flame, hold it close to you. Check out my melodies in the media that's been leading you. I'll show you a thing. Misdirection was the message. They don't want you to win.
As much as we all like to rip on men, this is time to take some accountability.